Howdy everyone, Runt9 here, and welcome back to Runt9 Plays Battletech. In the last episode, we finished up the contracts on our current world, except an escort mission, which I refused to do escort missions after last couple ones that I've had. I mean, I've always hated escort missions in literally every game ever, but now I'm at the point of, unless I absolutely have to take it, I'm not going to do escort missions in this game. They're just not fun. They're legitimately anti-fun, and they're frustrating from a perspective of, like, sometimes there's literally nothing you can do and you still fail. So what we're doing at this point is we're going to figure out some mech customization, some repairs and whatnot. We have a 27-day travel time to our next planet. So our next system or whatever the case may be. So we've got some time to play with, and ideally we would customize all of them. Well, except the Jenner. The Jenner really doesn't matter. But we have our 4 core, the A team, the ones who are putting in all of the work. And so I have some ideas. I went ahead and poked around a little bit so that we weren't just sitting here fiddling with things the whole time. And so I want to kind of go down the line, see how much time this will all take, and then go from there. So I don't think that we pick up that LRM 15 Plus from the shop. And essentially I want to refresh the roles that we kind of already have. And a big part of that is we have too many minimum range penalties on our only close-in engagement mechs. Because essentially we have a Centurion with a UAC 5, minimum range 90. So if we're in nearly melee range, we can only use the snub PPC, which is also a huge heat generator. We also have sacrificed a little bit of armor on the Centurion as well, for what is a pretty heavy loadout. Because ultimately, like, that right leg being down that much armor is not necessarily super ideal. So I have some thoughts there. From the Blackjack, we're sitting in a position where we've got 2 AC2s and a large laser. So our full alpha strike is 90 damage. You know what else does 90 damage? 2 AC5s. You know what would also fit in this exact same space? 2 AC5s. You know what the shop doesn't have? A second AC5. But you know what we do have is a UAC5, where our Blackjack could potentially be firing 3 AC5 shots for a total alpha of 135 with very, very minimal heat generation compared to the heat generation of, well, I guess the UAC5 is only 2 heat lower than the large laser, but by dropping the 2 AC2s. So I'm thinking that what I want to do for the Blackjack, to reiterate the sniper roll, but give it a little bit more of a punch from that sniper roll, is swap the UAC5 over onto it, put the AC5 on it, drop the large laser. And I do think that we're going to have to drop more armor, but again, from a sniper perspective, 360 meters optimal range is still quite a long ways. And at this point, I'm okay having something with very minimal armor, especially very, very minimal rear armor, sitting at the back and just taking whatever shots it's got. For the Vindicator, I mean, a PPC and an LRM5 is one of the worst combinations I can possibly think of. Firepower alpha at 70 is just awful. We have a few different slots to play with from the laser and missile perspective. I'm thinking we may swap the PPC out for a snub PPC, and then let's get some SRMs on here. I mean, that one slot is begging for an SRM6. And the Centurion, for what it's worth, like, I'm not fully settled in on, you know, putting another autocannon on here or something, but ideally, we would have either an AC5 or an AC20 lying around to chuck on it. Although, again, until we have someone that can minimize that minimum range penalty, that we also want to put in the Centurion. Because I think we have one mech warrior right now that has a minus 45.
Waiting for orders. Yes, Commander.
Yeah, we have Gumdrop, who also has Bulwark, which, you know, actually this would be a pretty decent setup. But the problem is, it kind of wants sensor lock on a scout. But if our Centurion was going to lead the charge, I mean, bringing down an AC-5 to only a 45-meter minimum range is significantly better than the 90 minimum range. But it is still a minimum range penalty. So, ideally, you would have some autocannon that would fit the mold, and my ideal fit the mold is an LB5X, which you'll come to learn, especially if you watch the streams, that I have a very, very high opinion of the LB5Xs. They work great on your close-in brawlers because they don't take up too much room. They do a decent bit of damage. They strip a nice chunk of armor. They do a ton of stability damage. And if you pair that with a couple of other autocannons or an LRM missile boat or something like that, knockdowns are ridiculously easy. And so, because they fit into the same tonnage as an AC-5. So UAC-5 is one more, tonnage 9. So we could essentially have the exact same loadout and roll a snub PPC along with an LB-5X, but you have to find them. So I'm thinking, even though I hate AC-10s, maybe just chuck the AC-10 on there so that we have a little bit of a thumping power going on, and then roll with the SRM-6 with the crit, since I think that it would be more likely that this is the close-in one. But I'm also not against the possibility of just going for a close-range SRM bot, because it does a ton of stability damage, and I've found in my solo playthrough, I have a Griffin with 3 SRM-6s, and you would be surprised just how much damage output that actually is. I mean, it is 48 times 3 if every missile hits. But even if you take the 75% base chance to hit per missile, then you're still sitting at 36 times 3, which is 7,208. That's still 108 if every missile hits. That's slightly more than a single AC-20. So that's kind of the outline that I put together. I think that we're going to go ahead and start putting these pieces together, see how long this full set of upgrades is going to take. And I will say, I don't really want to do much to the Vulcan. We only have one small laser to swap out for one of the machine guns. We'll kind of see where it ends up at. I don't think that we're going to be able to do much. And so if we can't upgrade the Vulcan, that's fine, so as long as we can repair it. I think our repair bills across the board are fairly light. I mean, that's 3 days, 2 days, so we're 6 days total for repair costs. That still leaves us 21 days for modifications. So how about we start on that path and see where we end up at. So again, I think we yeet the AC-5s into the stratosphere, and I think we knock the snub PPC off here as well. I do like having the jump jets on the Centurion, especially since it is one that's going to jump into battle. So with 17 tons, like, we could very, very easily just go 3 SRMs right here, and then chuck 2 boxes of ammo in here, and still have 6 tons left to play with. So we could throw a snub PPC back in here, but you can also see from a heat efficiency standpoint, we're running a 41 heat deficit, which essentially means we would be able to do this whole volley once, and then either turn off the snub PPC or start turning off SRMs, neither of which I would like. From a firepower standpoint, though, that would be incredible on that first hit if we need to take down something spooky, because 219 damage is nothing to scoff at. But I kind of don't like that. You can already tell, like, from a heat efficiency standpoint, 3 SRMs is not heat neutral, but they do only generate 6 heat. If you do a jump and SRM each turn, you're sitting at 14 heat with a 60 overheat threshold. That's 14, 28, 28 times 2 is 56. So you can do 4 full volleys and jumps in the same turn and still have heat left over. So again, this is where I'm like, it'd be kind of nice to have an AC-5. An AC-2 is 6 tons, but I mean, are you really going to take something with 120 minimum range on something that also has SRMs? Now, we could play it more like a mid-range, but the problem with AC-2s is only 25 damage. An AC-5 is only 2 tons more and does 45 damage. So now I'm kind of wondering, what happens if we yeet one of the SRMs and roll an AC-5 in here? Like, what does this look like? What does this loadout look like? 2 SRM6s and an AC5, which, again, would be infinitely better if it was an LB5X. Like, this would be just the greatest armor shredder that we could have in any of our possible loadouts with the mechs we have right now, if we had an LB5X instead of an AC5. But if we stick someone in here with the minimum range lowered, and again, I think we may have closer range mechs elsewhere, but also look at our heat efficiency. I mean, with 2 SRMs and the AC5, we're only at a 2 heat deficit. We're almost heat neutral, but we're able to keep our firepower at 4 ticks. That's 141 alpha damage, which is not bad. And the thing is, we had roughly the same damage output, but we had so much worse heat efficiency. You know, we were at 2 bars of heat efficiency. We could basically only fire the UAC5 and the snub PPC once before having to turn the snub PPC off. And that's why I generally don't like the PPC weapons, is, you know, the heat generation is difficult and it's very all or nothing. Whereas with medium lasers, if you have like 4 mediums, or in the case of one of these, for the same tonnage, 6 mediums, it's like, oh, we generated too much heat, just turn, you know, a couple mediums off, but you don't lose all of the damage. So the other alternative, as opposed to AC5 and 2 SRMs, is to instead do an AC10 with 2 boxes of ammo, but only 1 SRM and 1 ammo, and be 1 ton overweight. Apparently that's lower firepower by a good bit, and we'd lose some armor. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I like the AC5 thought. Well, here's the problem with that though. Here's the problem. Is we wanted to use the AC5 on the Blackjack. That is a bit of a problem, isn't it? And if we throw the snub back on here with some SRMs, we have the same heat problems we had before. Yes, we could heat sink it, but... that is a thing. So I do think we have to go for the Thumper build on this one. And I mean, it's not a Thumper because an AC10 is not an AC20. But I think this is kind of what we're going to have to roll. And I mean, yes, AC10 boxes hold 8 rounds, which might be enough, but probably not. And I'm not sure if I want to put the SRM 6+ on here or not. I feel like this one's going to be the more close range one of our different mech options. So probably roll that route, and then for the weight, I don't know, dude. We could yeet the jump jets, but honestly, I like having the jumpers. I mean, again, our heat efficiency is great. We're heat negative. Like, we could jump and alpha, and we would only gain 2 heat. So this is where you start figuring out, where can we pull armor away from? And I think the easy answer is pull it away from the legs. You know, drop them both down to like 70. We only need to pull a little bit more off. We could probably afford some on the left arm. But this is also begging to just be constantly shot off. Being able to grab another AC5 would be so nice. But you can see in the store, there's not a single autocannon for sale. The other alternative is we roll a combo of SRMs and medium lasers, and I'm certainly not against that either. And then we could stack our armor all the way back up there and have a lot more build flexibility. Would have to probably roll some heat sinks, but let's take a look at what that looks like. Go back to max armor. We got 12 tons remaining. Eat that. Go ahead and give me 2 SRM boxes with 3 SRMs. And that leaves us with 5 tons, so we could roll with 2 medium lasers in the center, and then with the jump jet still on here, we have room for 4 heat sinks. I mean, we have room for 3, but I don't want to waste that 0.44 tons. We'll drop just a small bit of armor. So, probably just stack them up here in the center torso and the head, and then put 1 in the right torso. And so that gets us to 42 on 60. That's only 18. That's only an 18 deficit, and that's not bad. And if we need to turn off a medium laser, we can. And this actually, from a firepower perspective, 194 is a pretty solid alpha. And this means that we don't have any minimum range penalties to worry about. We don't have the recoil on the autocannon, which we basically have no mech warriors that can handle it in a decent way. I think AC-10s are fairly weight inefficient. And, you know, from this perspective, this gives us a lot of flexibility from a heat management perspective is, do we want to turn off an SRM this turn? Do we want to turn off a couple lasers? And we can play it pretty much anything in short to medium range. So from a dropping weight perspective, I think we're probably going to be right facing. I'm actually okay dropping some weight on the left. Only need to drop one more. Go ahead and drop me in the leg. And actually bump the arm back up to 70. 85. You know what? Let's go this route. I'd rather have the leg a little bit lower than the arm. 80 in the arm doesn't leave a lot of space to protect the SRMs and the ammo. So, we were talking about the naming in the last episode, and so we are 15 minutes in. Again, I don't think there's going to be any combat at this point. We've still got a little ways to go. Although I think the other builds are a little bit more set in stone. So this is a CN9, to follow the naming nomenclature of that. This is really it's short to medium range. I think it's ideal in that medium range, but honestly, I would call this SMR because it's short, medium range. Basically, it can play at either of those ranges perfectly well because it has no minimum. And so basically, it can be right on top of you all the way out to a decent medium range in that 180 zone. And technically even up to the 270 if you have a decent shot or some elevation or anything. So short to medium range, we're going to be right facing. So basically, it's the 3-letter or 3-character code for the body, the range, which is usually going to be short, medium, or long. If it can adapt to multiple ranges, then put that in there. If it only has a single weapon, then I'll put the weapon name there. Like if we're rocking just an AC-20, I'll just put AC-20 there, because that's more descriptive than the range. In this case, because we have SRMs and lasers, I think it's easier to just say short, medium range. And we could potentially just throw in the optimal range on this one of 180, but I think SMR is better. And then it's going to be either LF, RF, or CF for left-facing, right-facing, or center-facing. Because we want to put our right side forward, because basically all they're going to destroy is an arm, and I mean, we may even want to like put the jump jets somewhere else to kind of protect things more. But I usually don't like putting things in the legs if we can avoid it, although ammo in the legs is kind of okay. And then it has jump jets, so we're going to just add a J at the end. So it's our CN9 SMR RFJ, which again is the 3-character code, the range, the facing, and then J, or if there's no jump jets, just leave the J off. So this is going to be a 16-day modification, so we don't exactly have a lot of room left. That does also include the repairs. We also don't have a ship upgrade going right now. Let's see, do we have one of these available for cheap? That's 450, that's 270. That'll get us 2 tech points and take 20 days. So the last 7 days of travel will have 2 extra tech points. So we can also kind of factor that in. Like, I don't know the math, but it does help. So for the Blackjack, I think this one is a lot simpler. UAC5, AC5, strip more armor. And honestly, probably strip the jump jets, but we'll kind of see. So strip all those off, put the... And you put the AC5 in one, you put the UAC5 in the other, and then you put probably the box of ammo in each torso. That gives us 30 rounds. We're shooting 3 per round. So basically, we would run out of rounds at 10 rounds. Rounds, rounds, rounds. More rounds, more rounds. So the question here is, if we yeet the jump jets, we get that ton back. And I think the problem is 2 isn't enough for me to care. But we also really like getting the elevation. You can see our firepower alpha is 135. I think my ideal scenario here, I'm okay living with only 10 rounds of firing everything, and we can always turn the UAC off if need be. Also, we are like ridiculously heat neutral. Again, I am more prone to say it's better to make this thing just absolute paper, but stay as far away as humanly possible than to not have the jump jets. Because I think, especially with the other 3 mechs having jump jets, you saw how it was difficult with only the two to kind of get it positioned in one of those missions last episode. So we're going to just murder the armor. I mean, I'm not really that worried about it. Take the legs down to basically nothing. Forget about rear armor. If we get flanked in this thing, we're already dead anyways. And then yeah, just start stripping a little bit off of CT. You can actually add just a little bit back on the rear, just in case. Not that it matters. We can take a little bit off the torsos as well. Go ahead and keep the arms at max just in case. If anything is going to get shot, we would prefer that the arms survive. The torsos have at least decent armor. So again, like, is this pure glass cannon? Oh, absolutely, for sure, 110%. I mean, what's our total armor here? 600 armor. I mean, that's light level armor. But if we can stick this thing just in the back and just pepper with 3 AC5 hits, amazing. Again, 135 each volley, and once we're in position, we're probably not jumping around, so we're heat positive. We're not even heat neutral, we're heat positive after the first jump. So I think this is great, and I'm much happier with this as a moving forward version for the Blackjack over the 2 AC2s and the large laser. So we're sitting at 24 days, and we still have more to do. So again, I think the Vulcan isn't going to get its stuff taken care of. So for the Vindicator, kind of what I was thinking here, go ahead and yeet the LRMs in the PPC, as it actually has some halfway decent armor. I mean, 920 is a little low, but it gets around that 1000 mark, and we're not using the armor if we're staying at what is essentially long range. Also, we totally forgot to name our Blackjack, so why don't we go back and do that before we worry about the Vindicator? Because otherwise I'm totally going to forget that we didn't do that. So we're going to have to redo the work, but we already know what we're doing. We're doing an AC5, a UAC5, a box of ammo in each torso, and then adding on 2 more jump jets. Okay, so this is a BJ-1. It is long range, easily. It is center facing, and it has jump jets. Okay, much better. So for the Vindicator, obviously start with repair all. And then I think that, again, you just yeet everything but the jump jets. I wish there was a strip all but jump jets. That would be much easier. Because most of the time, if I want to strip everything, I want to leave the jump jets in. Most of the time. So again, kind of what I was thinking here is we've got the 1 slot for missiles. Chuck some SRMs in there. I think that's a good setup there. And then we could either pull the snub PPC on and make this more of a mid-ranger, and we would probably have to deal with some heat sinks. But again, the problem with the snub PPCs is, okay, so we're operating at a 17 heat deficit. Our alpha strike is 123, which is decent, but I mean, just we'll throw all 4 heat sinks that we have on here, and we'll just show you kind of like, here's what you're looking at. That brings us to a 5 heat deficit, and we have room for a medium laser on here as well. Okay. That pushes us back down to a 17 heat deficit. And I'm just like, I do like snub PPCs. I do like the stability damage. The range is solid, and it does do some decent damage. I mean, 15 by 5 is 75. But you know what else does 75 damage? 3 medium lasers. And you know what medium lasers heat is? 12. So for literally half the tonnage, you can roll 3 medium lasers for 1 more heat and the same damage and a shorter range. So I'm just like, when you have to compare everything against medium lasers, a lot of things just make less sense. And so I'm like, just start stacking the medium lasers on here. I mean, don't put a heat sink in the head, put a laser up there. Do we have heat efficiency problems? Oh, absolutely. But we can just turn off medium lasers if need be. Turn off whichever ones we need. We could even, with 2 tons remaining, we could put on more heat sinks if we really wanted to deal with that. What's our heat deficit right now? Our heat deficit is 30, so we could reasonably only do 1 full alpha strike. But each medium laser we turn off is 12. So if we turn off 2 medium lasers, we would only be gaining 6 heat. What's our full alpha? 173. Cut 50 from that. 123 is still a big chunk of damage, and that would only be 6 heat added on. Now, granted, you have jumps to worry about, but that's why the flexibility of the medium lasers are so good. And, I mean, go ahead and max out the armor. So that's 0.31. Nah. I mean, we'll figure it out, but since we have every hard point filled other than the support ones, I mean, I don't want to put machine guns on there. Flamers would be kind of hilarious. The problem is, I don't see it as beneficial. I think that I would legitimately rather just put 2 more heat sinks in here. So let's go to equipment. Let's grab a couple more heat sinks and just actually have a reasonably heat efficient close range brawler here. Or I guess it would be more skirmisher, but so heat sinks in the middle first, then in the torsos. And we're 0.31 overweight. Well, what do? You max armor, and it drops like a tiny bit of armor from the sides. So we have a 173 alpha. We are at 14, 24. We're at 24 there. So we can do 2 full volleys at 173 total damage before having to start turning off medium lasers. I don't know about you. That seems pretty good to me. And legitimately, for half a ton of armor, sure, just go ahead and chuck a small laser in there. We're not going to be able to modify our Vulcan anyways. And actually, we have to choose medium laser or small laser anyways. So, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and chop a little bit more armor off. It's kind of just chop it from the legs. Everything else is good. So, I would say with the small laser, this is really meant to be more of a short range. What's our total armor at? 880? I mean, we'll call it short range. That would be my ideal scenario, is jump in close, just hammer with everything we've got. We added another 20 damage on top, so we're at 193. That seems pretty good. So we got a VND. We'll call it short range. It really is short to medium, but we'll call it short range. That's going to be probably just center facing. I mean, we might want to go right facing just to kind of protect the SRMs. Because the only thing that we would lose is a couple medium lasers, which are a dime a dozen. So yeah, let's actually call it right facing. It does have jumps. Let's actually, if we're going to go that route, then drop not from there. I say drop a little bit more from the left leg, so that with our right leg forward, we have just a little bit more armor. Let's just make it a nice round number. We could potentially drop a little bit from the arms or torsos, but I don't want to worry about that too much. This seems good. This is another 18-day run through, so we may end up just waiting. But honestly, like, I would be so much happier with this mech setup, and we also need to repair you. Again, I'm fine with where our Vulcan is at, and unless we get like some coils or more small lasers, like, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So the refit harness will happen and apply to all of these. I mean, that is a lot of extra time. Go ahead and knock out the Vulcan first. Do the smaller tasks first so that the larger tasks get more of the benefit from having the tech point. So now these 2 are done in 10 days, or in 9 days. This one's at 25, so that one would be done either way. That one's at 43. That'll probably come down to like 39, 38. And I'm honestly fine waiting a little bit of time to actually be able to use our full suite. Let's actually stop the Vulcan so we can rename it. Small bug there. There we go. So this is a VL, short range, center facing jumper. Hit repair, confirm, confirm. And then we'll move it back to the top of the task queue. I really wish that you could drag and drop. That would make life so much easier. So, why don't we go accept that contract? We'll do the traveling, and then in the next episode is when we will do sending a message. Witness protection is an escort, so you know that we're never doing that one. This is going to be a destroy base, which, I mean, that's going to be not necessarily that easy because we don't have the longest range in the world. I think we're going to need the cash more than the salvage. It is 1.5 skull, but I think we're probably going to take that. Then let's get some traveling going. Okay, yeah, replace the fan controllers. You lose 10 grand. And then it's gonna do the jump. So it does kind of annoy me that the jump itself, you can't actually skip that cutscene. But all the other cutscenes you can skip by pressing escape. You can even skip the back part of it. Bump in the night, take it out of his pay, use your company's funds, and train Gumdrop. You know what? Sure. Gained dependable, will be unavailable for 14 days. Gained high spirits. Sure. So the refit harness is complete. So now this will be done in 18 days. So yeah, I was mostly correct. So we'll have to wait about 11 days, and I'm fine with that. I would rather have 4 better mechs available to potentially take on some harder missions. Because I think at this point, with the loadouts that we put together, I think we should be able to handle some 2 skulls. I think some 2 skulls would be too hard, but, you know, we're rolling in there with 4 mediums, which can still tear some stuff up. Let's take a look at the ship upgrade, see if there's another one that we want to try to knock out. I mean, it is kind of spooky to throw automation on there. I think it's a good idea, but training module is a great one to have. And I think that we should pick that one up. We are going to need Mech Bay 2 before too terribly long, so definitely something to keep in mind. And we are going to want morale as well. I think we're going to take the +2 on the finances next time, which might be a little bit spooky, but I think the morale is more important, and I think we can handle it. I think we'll be able to get there. Because getting to that morale breakpoint, now we gain 25 resolve per turn instead of 15, and that can make a huge difference when it comes to called shots in combat. We are at Sacramento, Black Market Fence selling an AC2++. Let Shutter the expert handle it. I mean, for a slightly lower amount, yeah, absolutely. What do we get with the AC2++? Plus 20 stability damage is actually pretty solid for an AC2. And we gain some rep with the pirate organization. Not yet. First things first, whenever you get somewhere new, you got to check out the store. You know, this is where you do this. What do you got? You got more Banshee stuff. Jenner, Phoenix Hawk, Trebuchet. So we know that with this planet and the last planet, there's 3 pieces of Warhammer salvage. So if we do want to go that route for 2.7 million, we can. Large laser plus 5 damage, +1 accuracy, not really enough to care about. We've got some small laser pluses here, that's great for the Vulcan, plus crit is great, +5 damage is also great. And so that's about the only interesting things here. We've got AC2s, so still no AC5s, definitely no LBs, and the LBs are where I want to be. But that'll do. And then I don't think we really have anything to sell. So yeah, that AC2++ is nice, but I don't think that we're necessarily going to be using it anytime soon. And let's just take a quick peek at the contracts that we're going to have here. We'll also take a look at the hiring hall, double check our XP on in our barracks, and then that will wrap up this episode. And then in the next one, we're going to get into some spicy combat. Try to test out our new mech builds. We're going to go ahead and wait that 11 days as well. Now, the thing is, I would kind of like to do enough to get an extra 50k, because like we do want to be able to afford the black market if/when the pirates offer it to us, because the black market can open up a whole wealth of new stuff. Okay, so this is a difficult place to be. Like, legitimately, only 2 1.5 skull missions plus the one here. Let's just take a quick peek. That's a recovery, which is a little difficult. Defend base should be fine. Like, we've got a lot of firepower. Should be okay. Destroy base, recovery, attack and defend. Those are difficult. Backyard barbecue, ambush convoy. So we have no just basic battles. And another attack and defend. So my hope here... let's see here. That's a base. Payroll seizure. Hold the line. Carrier. I don't think any of these are like ones where we're going to be able to hit multiple enemies against each other. So this is going to be a hard place to stay. We're basically going to go as hard as we can on the 1.5 skulls and start ticking through the 2 skulls and the most lucrative ones first until we take so much damage that we need to just repair and go. So this will be a little bit of a rough one, but I do think that let's go ahead and wait the time to get our Vindicator ready to go. Training module is complete. We're not buying any other ship upgrades right now. We are too low on cash for that. Okay, so in the next episode, let's just double check how good our mechs are. We've got some great firepower. We got 194 out of our Centurion. We've got a 135 out of our Blackjack. We've got a 193 out of our Vindicator. And then we still have the 95 out of our Vulcan. But it does melee a lot for that 50. So I'm excited to get this team ready to go. Let's also check our XP as well. Make sure that we're in an okay spot. 2200. You know what? We probably need more people with tactics, but I really do like sure footing. Confirm that in. Gumdrop is in a good spot. Probably save up for the 2500s at this point. Mothership, definitely get me that. No overheat threshold. Definitely overheat threshold. That 6 guts is a huge initial pickup because that pushes that up to 75. Shudder, not enough. Silver Eagle, would rather hold out for the 2500s. And then YouTube, definitely hold out. So I think that's going to do it. It's going to be fun trying to find a thumbnail for this one. But maybe I'll just kind of go to the end here and just be like, hey, we're here. And I don't know. We'll figure something out. But until the next episode, that's the last part. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, the best way to support the channel is clicking the like button. That sends a message to YouTube that says, hey, other people might like this video as well, and it's significantly less awkward than telling your friends about it. In addition, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future, and check out twitch.tv/Runt9plays, streaming 5 days a week, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, Wednesday through Sunday. And also, check out the link tree in the description below for Twitch, Twitter, Discord, all that good stuff. Otherwise, until the next episode, I'm Runt9, and I'll see you later.